Hello and welcome to our program. Please join me in welcoming on our show today Professor P.N. Tandon, Professor Emeritus at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, and former head of the Neurosurgery Department at AIIMS. Professor Tandon, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Sir, it's an honor to have you in the studio with us
Pleasure
today.
is mine.
So you passed out, you did your graduation in 1950, then went for higher studies out of the country. You are one of the pioneers of neurosurgery, neurosciences in the country. In fact, your stint at AIIMS has really been an illustrious one. You started the Department of Neurosciences in Lucknow, which is the place you passed out from, and then came to AIIMS and did pioneering work. It's been a really wonderful and long journey. How does it feel now?
Well, it has been most gratifying. It's been a long journey. It has been arduous journey. It has its trials and tribulations. It has periods where one would not like to live again, and there are periods of joy which one would like to experience every day, because ultimately it is achievement of a goal that matters. And as far as I am concerned, these trials and tribulations are part of everyone's life, not just my life. Anybody who starts something new has to go through it, like many others in their own fields.
Right.
Yes, I graduated from KG Medical College, Lucknow. I started in the college in pre-independence era.
Right.
In 1945.
Okay.
We had the Declaration of Independence when I was still a medical student. And our principal was still a foreigner. So we have gone from there onwards. At that time, the whole country had only 16 medical colleges. Today, there are more than 400 such colleges. So I did my MBBS, and then I did my Master of Surgery from the same college in 1952. I worked for some time in various places, including with a WHO team in Delhi for starting chest surgery for tuberculosis.
Okay, right.
Not neurosurgery.
And
that
we
was
were really struggling with tuberculosis at that time.
Yes, we are still struggling with it.
Okay.
So that Silver Jubilee TB Hospital, where a WHO team came and started surgery for tuberculosis, and I was virtually posted there, not according to my own wish, but according to the desires of the powers that be.
Okay.
I mention that because that is the link to my ultimate neurosurgery.
Okay.
The chief of that team was a Norwegian, Dr. Wolodarski, and he worked here for 1 year. I worked with him, and when he left, I also left India, not with him.
Okay.
I went to do my FRCS, because those days, unless you had those 4 letters FRCS, you are nobody in this country in medical field, either MRCP or FRCS, otherwise you are just a general. And much against my wishes, purely because of my nationalistic ideals, I didn't want that degree, but I had to. So I went there.
Okay.
To prove that that's not difficult to do that. So I did my FRCS. But why I mentioned that chest surgery unit, the chief of that unit, Dr. Wolodarski, the moment I finished my FRCS, he said, now you come to Norway and you be trained in neurosurgery. And he trained me here in chest surgery.
Okay.
Why do you want me to do that? I don't. There were at that time there were only 2, maybe 3 neurosurgeons in the whole country.
That's all.
That's the.
Okay.
Well, of course, even chest surgeons were not more than 10 or 15 or something like that. The specialties had not come up.
Right.
But he said that I want you to work with a man who is a very unusual human being, and who and his wife are a couple, the type I have never met.
In Norway?
In Norway.
Okay.
This is my mentors. So I want you to be with them because I like you very much and I like them. I would just spend 6 months with them. If you still want to do chest surgery, we'll arrange chest surgery. That's how I did neurosurgery. So anyway, I was trained there for 2 years, and chief there said, that's not enough. You must go to those days what was called the Mecca of neuroscience,
Okay.
Montreal. And Dr. Wilder Penfield was the chief of that center, outstanding person as a human being, as a leader, and as a creator of dozens of trainees from all over the world. The first trainee, the second trainee in this country were from that center.
Okay.
The first trainee in China was from that center. The first trainee in Poland was from that center. The first trainee in Chile was from that center. You name it, and
So he virtually seeded it across the world.
his whole aim was that. Besides developing his own discipline for Canada, he was really himself an American who was naturalized Canadian afterwards.
Oh, what a visionary, I must say. What a visionary.
Unbelievable. He created at that time what was called the Mecca of neuroscience, the Montreal Neurological Institute, where I was trained. So when I returned from there, by that time All India Institute had started.
Right.
It started in 56,
Right.
right? And I returned in 61 from abroad. My desire was to work in that institute. That's a long story, but anyway, whatever the circumstances were, I went back to my own college to start the first neurosurgical service in the province, in the UP. There was only one other neurosurgeon in whole of UP, at that time a population of 80 million only, but one neurosurgeon that was in the army.
Okay.
So the first neurosurgical service was started in Lucknow, my own college, which is now a full-fledged department. When the opportunity arose, I came to All India Institute. That was 4 years later.
Right.
So 65 I was in Delhi, and All India Institute was still under construction. The hospital was not ready. The administrative block, etc., were there. So we had to start from scratch with no facility.
And today it is like a luminary, it's like a light that shines for all medical research in the country.
Today it is. I think one of the largest and most well-known departments in All India Institute today is the neuroscience group.
Right, sir.
Right.
Right.
So that's how I started, and luckily I had outstanding colleagues, one by one, that I had, and I had very unusual support from the administration.
Why would you call it unusual?
See, there are not many people those days used to think that नया नया आया है कोई क्या रखना है चलता है. All average medical college the attitude was. That time the attitude in All India Institute was we want to create something which is comparable to the best in the world, and therefore every faculty member was supported because our directors were very outstanding people.
Right.
When I joined, Dr. K.L. was the director.
So, at an institutional level, sir, what then really supports excellence?
The most important, single most important, is the leadership, which must insist on the criteria of selecting people only and only and only on merit and nothing else. Neither from where you are, not what your caste is, not whom you know or you don't know. Are you qualified? Are you capable? Have you demonstrated capabilities? So, it helped me because I had already done enough 3-4 years time in Lucknow to be known that I am capable of doing good work.
Right. So, organizationally, when you want to bring in something different which is pioneering or want to go into grounds which nobody has tread before, I think somewhere change is something that results in, and change is something that we invariably resist. So, how did you cope with these uphill tasks?
You have to use all your social, professional skills, both. One single doesn't work.
Well said, sir.
Now, the most difficult thing is to get a team. This is not a single man's work. This is a teamwork, and unless you are going to get a team to work as a team, you cannot develop. And as I said earlier, I must say I was fortunate in selecting my team.
Right. So, one of the challenges of working with the learned people, bright people, and AIIMS always has a reputation of wanting to take the best, is that people who come there and in your team already would be people who were already very accomplished. So, how do you get accomplished people who have their own egos, their own ways to work, to come together and work as a team?
When I joined the institute, the total faculty was less than 100.
Sir.
Right? Each one was handpicked. Right? There were two groups of people there. One, those who had already accomplished enough in the country in different other medical colleges and places, very senior people, nearing beyond 55 and all that.
Sir.
And the other were the younger group that were coming in. And I must say it was their wisdom to choose the young people. And I had the pleasure of choosing all my team slowly over the years. But the very first one I chose was the best. And then two of us together were able to maintain a certain degree of, as I said, it's often difficult to judge. You may have a degree, but you may not be a good person in the team.
Sir, absolutely.
You may be very capable, but you may, as you said, your ego.
And be a solo player.
And my good fortune was, and I have recorded it elsewhere, that if somebody asked me initially what will be your dream team, I couldn't have written it better than what I got. The first one that came was trained in Vellore, Dr. Banerjee, who has his own accomplishment in life. But the rest were my own trainees. So, they had imbibed in them the culture of our department. All India Institute House was different from other medical colleges. Lucknow Medical College was very well known when I was educated there, even today is well known.
So,
What was the difference? The difference was there was not enough emphasis on research in medical colleges. In All India Institute, and one of the senior professors told me one day, look, if you are going to work here, it doesn't matter how many patients you have treated, but certainly work how much research you have done.
that was the focus.
That was the focus. And therefore, you had to think no facilities and you have to do research.
Right. And do you think, sir, from the time when you focused on research to today, because actually research and development is an investment into the future, and the rate of the pace of change is so fast, things are changing so fast, do you think we are investing enough in research and development?
Why did we decide to have a National Brain Research Center? This was proposed not by me, but by the professor of physiology who was a neurophysiologist,
Okay.
who was then the dean of the institute, to have this center in All India Institute. Because even though we had neurophysiology, we had some people in neuroanatomy, we had some in neurochemistry, but there was not a cohesive group, and we proposed that there should be a cohesive group of all disciplines of neuroscience. And the proposal was made, started by him, supported by the newcomer like me, and the government didn't have money. So, the National Brain Research Center that has come up after I have retired from All India Institute.
Okay.
Though it was thought of when I was beginning my career. So, it takes that much time.
Right. But do you think, so we have that luxury of
No.
having such a long gestation period?
No, we don't have the luxury. There are good things and difficult things, as I said. It is unimaginable that a new government in 1947 thought of developing these disciplines. So, they sent people abroad on government fellowships.
For training.
Yeah. Dr. Ramamurthy, who started this whole thing in Madras in 1950, the first department there in Madras, after Dr. Chandy. Dr. Chandy went on his own, but Dr. Ramamurthy was sent by the government of India.
So, there was a vision.
There was a vision. There was a vision of Rajkumari ji to have a national institute,
Right.
where you should have these things together.
Right.
In spite of the vision, All India Institute really could come up because of a large grant from Rockefeller Foundation, a large grant initially from the government of New Zealand. The country didn't have the money, but it was the leadership that thought of that and tried to encourage this. And I wouldn't have been able to start neurosurgery in All India Institute if we didn't have the facility of getting equipment through Rockefeller Foundation grant. So, we have to be thankful for that.
Right.
I do not think there was any country that had independence when we had independence, who had visionaries that we had, at least as far as development of science is concerned.
Okay.
There are no parallel to Nehru, no parallel anywhere in the world. And he called these institutes as temples. This is the temple of New India, the dams and the institute, science institute. He created labs after labs in this country for science. So, yet there were limitations, there were no money, but the leadership was open to sources where they could tap the money.
Right. So, why do you think a scientific temperament of science is so closely linked to every discipline? Because it's your area of passion, working with science.
there is nothing beyond science.
Really? Okay.
Well, I am exaggerating, but science is a core which is another way of leading to truth. You have philosophy, you have religion, you have social sciences. What is the main purpose of all these? Search for the truth. And there is, in those, it is your intellectual inputs.
Sir.
Here, it is a practical input. And at the same time, it can be utilized for supporting the social welfare of a country.
Dr. Tandon, we were talking of science and spirituality. Are they separate paths? Do they meet? Is there a difference or none at all?
Well, this is a question that has been debated for centuries together. The final answer is not there, but as far as I am concerned, both are in search for truth, and therefore, as far as I am concerned, they are overlapping. You asked a question earlier, what is the relationship of spirituality to science?
Sir.
Both are outputs of human brain, and therefore, the question is, are there centers in the brain which determine spirituality? Belief, faith, which are essential component of spirituality, have a neurological basis. And I have written enough about it. I have published papers on this subject. So, it is too long to debate it, but as far as I am concerned, and many outstanding scientists in the world, Nobel laureates, have come to the same conclusion.
Right. So when we say that belief and faith in the doctor, in the process, in a good future can help healing, can help a better surgery, prayer, the power of prayer, all this holds true?
I believe it, others may not. Many of the surgeons of my generation, when they went into their operation theatre to do a difficult case, they prayed before they get. There were some who visited the temple the night before. So, it has it is a matter of faith. If you have faith in these things, yes, it works.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you spoke of surgery and you also said about faith and belief in the science, faith and belief in the self, and faith and belief in a power beyond. And I think when a surgeon goes into an operation theatre and takes all this with him or her, time ceases to matter. Also, every surgeon is a human being. There is also a life outside the surgery. How does one completely switch off and just go into another world?
Well, that itself is if I may say so, is a miracle. Because once you are there with the patient in the operation theatre, nothing matters to you. What matters is that life. That person has trusted you, and therefore, it is your moral responsibility. Neurosurgery used to take hours.
Sir.
We never knew how many hours have passed. And suddenly, we would get a telephone call and sister will say, sir, your wife is asking when will you come home.
The whole day had passed.
Yes. So, and we suddenly realized that we have already been here. So, it is a type of concentration which is, to my way of thinking, like deep meditation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because it is in meditation that the self ceases to exist.
Yeah.
And here also the self ceases to exist.
Yeah. You don't have any, you have no
track of anything else except that
nothing,
which is in front.
except that.
Right.
And your team, whom you can, if you are in trouble, you can abuse them.
Right, right.
put fault on, all the fault is of the team,
Right.
all the good things are yours.
So technology today, has it actually really helped us understand and work better with the brain, because it's a complex organ?
Much.
And how much of the brain do we really know about?
Yeah. As far as I am concerned, we don't know more than 10% of it. And that's why all the neuroscience research.
And despite so many advances, just
Despite
10%.
so many, as far as technology is concerned, this neurosurgeon of today will not be able to do neurosurgery under circumstances we did. It will be impossible. My mentor who visited me
Sir.
from Norway, after visiting me for 2 weeks, he went to Montreal for giving an oration, and he made a statement there, which is very touching. He said, I bring greetings from Prakash because I was also trained there, and but I want to tell you that if I had not seen his patients alive with my own eyes, I won't believe neurosurgery was possible with the facilities that he had. Okay? Today, it is so advanced. At that time, when we started, under the best of institutions, the mortality for a brain tumor operation was at least 10 to 15%. Today, if it is more than 1%, something is wrong. And most of it is attributable to the advances in techniques and technologies. Not so much knowledge of the brain itself. That's a separate issue.
Right.
But the facilities that are available today, even since I have retired, they have changed.
Things are moving so fast.
And they are changing.
Right.
They are changing. I won't be able to operate in my own operation theatre today using the facilities that are available, because I have never trained with them.
Right.
And each one of them has led to improvement in our results. Improvement that you do less damage to your patient, because you are handling the most delicate organ of the body. You can rupture the heart and stitch it. You rupture the brain, it's gone. Anything you damage is damaged.
Right.
So that's the necessity of.
So these beautiful organs that we have, until something goes wrong, we just take it for granted that it's there. And I think when something goes wrong with the brain, it manifests in so many different ways.
Oh, unbelievable. You see, for that you have to know, and where even today research is incomplete, it's the whole area of development of the brain, from the fetal life to childhood, to adolescent, to adulthood, and to my age of senility. You see, you have to know how the brain develops, how it grows, how it is going to be lost. And every step you have to see that you promote the growth and prevent the loss.
So true.
Okay. Now, one of the worst things, we are struggling in this country, in spite of all the research.
Sir.
All the malnutrition that we have, the malnutrition of the mother, the malnutrition of the newborn, the malnutrition of the, what it does to the brain, how much damage it does to the brain. There are enough studies, yet they are not enough. One thing is sure, that the damage that you do while the child is still in a mother's womb, by not providing it the adequate nutrition, can be responsible for your disease of the brain when you are aging.
Okay.
Not just at that time, but a long term effect.
Right.
Right. Similarly, if the child in the growing years, when the brain is growing, the child is not born for fully grown brain. The brain grows as the child grows. And even if during that time you do not give the proper nutrition or proper care of that child, and I will come to that in a second, besides nutrition.
So,
the mother's love, the hug of the
physical
dear
contact, okay.
of the dear ones, the talk to the newborn is not irrelevant. The mother that talks, or the family, rest of the family that talks to the child, people say, "ऐसे क्या बात कर रहे हैं, इसके कोई समझ में आ रहा है?" All that is important for that child's growth.
Right. And I think the most important thing you're saying is कि ये सब आपकी पूंजी, you're investing in it because it's going to give you long-term results.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Right.
It will give you the type of brain that you need for your survival. B, for your growth, and C, for preventing disease later in life.
Right.
The good thing is, if you detect early, it can be corrected. But if you delay, it cannot be corrected.
Right. So, sir, what are some signs and symptoms that you know that the brain is not developing at the right pace?
Oh, there are tests for it.
Okay.
There are tests for it, which are psychometric tests. But an intelligent mother will know. You don't need anybody.
मतलब माँ को कभी जब लगे कि मेरे बच्चे में मुझे लग रहा है तो
कि ये ग्रो नहीं कर रहा,
तो
मेरा
ignore नहीं
बच्चा
करना।
ये स्माइल नहीं कर रहा आजकल, ये खाना नहीं ठीक से खा रहा है, राइट, ये हाथ पैर इतने नहीं चला रहा है, ये तो दिस इज, बट देयर आर refined tests, both psychometric, and now with the equipment we can see the brain in living people.
Right.
With all the CT scan, MR scan,
and non-invasive.
So all the non-invasive techniques which we have.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what is the critical age? Because कभी-कभी हमें लगता है कि बच्चा छोटा है, शायद बड़ा होगा तो ठीक हो जाएगा, और कुछ चीजें हम इग्नोर कर देते हैं.
Every age is critical. Spatially, the most important, if I may say so, is the first 5 years. But then rest is also important.
Right. Right.
You see, the studies that have been done on twins, one in a rich environment and one in the poor environment, one twin here and one twin there, the difference that you see with the two.
Enormous.
Enormous, enormous, enormous.
Right. And you're saying बच्चे की खुराक, nutrition is प्यार, उससे बातें करना, खाना, खुराक, सब कुछ उसकी खुराक है.
Yeah.
Right.
The hugging and kissing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we say that it's so critical to have time. And in that time, your interaction, your meeting,
yes,
your communicating.
Absolutely.
Dr. Tandon, you're one of the few doctors. You retired from one of the best institutes in the country. You could have had a flourishing practice, private practice. You decided not to practice and devote your time, energy and love to the promotion of science, research and education in the country and taking it globally. Why was that so?
You must realize that when we were children of a country that was not independent.
Sir.
Our greatest sorrow used to be, are we second rate? What can we do to say that we Indians are not second rate? And one of the greatest advances that were taking place during our adulthood were in the field of science and technology. And the whole All India Institute created with the idea that you have to do that. So, My father was a professor. He retired as professor from Allahabad University. He was a scientist. And so I must have imbibed a little bit of that science from him. A little bit of science from having worked with the most outstanding scientists in the field in Norway and in Montreal. And therefore, there was always, why can't we be producing something which is like that?
True.
So, when having been given this good fortune to have worked in All India Institute, where a lot of people devoted time to science, my idea was to develop not neurosurgery, which to my way of thinking my students were very capable. But one thing was missing in the country was neuroscience. There were hardly few people, even by the time I retired, who were doing basic neuroscience. And as I mentioned earlier, we thought of having a comprehensive development of whole area of neuroscience, and therefore, we were devoting ourselves to research. Again, by sheer I don't know what, chance, luck, whatever it is, I somehow got, maybe my father's wish, got into the Indian National Science Academy as a fellow. Now, doctors never, very few doctors became fellows of Indian National Science Academy. And very soon after that, I was appointed secretary of this, the most important science body in the country even today.
It's quite an honor. Right.
And there I came in contact with the most outstanding scientists of this country.
Okay.
I interacted with people who were internationally renowned scientists. So, my interest in science kept on growing. So, we interacted with it on a virtually day-to-day basis. So, they got into me, showed me it's possible in this country to do something which is internationally competitive. And so, I thought I have trained people who can look after patients, but I haven't got people in the country who can look after science in my discipline and science in general. And therefore, I got more when I retired, again by whatever you may call it, I could have gone in practice. I had a lot of offers. I could have earned a lot of money.
True.
One thing was, my wife never wanted money. She had no needs for it. And we had no responsibilities. So, I could do what I liked. And my, as I say, my parents allowed me to do what I liked, then my wife allowed me to do what I liked, and my son allowed me to do what I liked. We never had to spend any money on our son's education. So, we didn't have needs of that kind. I thought it is, why not do what I enjoy.
Right.
And I was one of the very few people one of the first few people who got the highest fellowship that this country those days used to give, the Bhatnagar Fellowship.
Right. So what do you are a Padma Vibhushan also? So many records from the B.C. Roy award also.
Yeah, there are too many of them.
So what do awards and recognition mean to you, sir?
Only one thing, and that was that the younger generation should learn that if you really work for excellence, you may get recognition, that the country recognizes you. And I have kept on telling every young man, देर हो सकती है इस देश में, अंधेर नहीं होता. तुम काम करोगे अच्छा, जरूर तुम्हें उसका फल मिलेगा.
So what's the secret of being so active, alert and alive at this age? And I think it holds a lot of secret, your brain holds a lot of secret treasures for all of us, sir.
Again, a slogan which we try to perpetuate across the country to young people,
Sir.
use it or lose it.
Right, sir. Absolutely.
It is not just your body which you use it, otherwise you lose it.
Right.
It's your mind also.
Right.
So, I enjoy nothing more than reading and writing and giving talks. The last book I have published is only a few months ago,
Right.
and the other one is in that.
So the brain is constantly engaged.
Yeah.
Right.
And they are on so many different things.
Okay. So when we talk, sir, of the engagement of the brain, there is also this whole thing that, people say work hard, party harder, and live life today, because very soon, people want to retire. What is retirement, sir?
It's again a very interesting thought. My chief in Norway, in Montreal, Dr. Penfield, he wrote a book titled Second Career. And when I went to him and I was leaving Montreal, what is your advice to me, sir? He said, have a hobby, because operating day and night and all that will become boring. You must have a hobby, more so because you will need it when you retire.
Right. That's your investment into your retirement.
Yeah. He said, we spend 25, 30 years to be able to work for our profession or whatever it is we do in life, but we don't prepare for the life that may be after that. Prepare for me now.
Right.
And my hobby, as I said, has been.
Right, sir.
Yeah.
So what part does yoga play in actually keeping the brain active?
Yoga is a generic term.
Okay.
There is no such thing as yoga as an entity. There are varieties of yogas, and people confuse that. They say everything is yoga, meditation is yoga, physical exercise is yoga, breathing exercise is yoga. So, once we clear that, I think it has tremendous both physical and mental effects.
Right.
Properly conducted, properly followed. It has, there's enough scientific studies now, including studies with the latest technology of NMR, EEG, name the latest diagnostic techniques.
Right.
And you can show that this has a positive effect on your health and on your intellect.
If you were not a doctor, you were not a surgeon, and you were not so passionate about science, you were not in the area of science, what would you be?
Knowing my childhood, knowing the intense national feelings that we had. As a schoolboy, I have taken out Prabhat Feris. As a schoolboy, I have taken out processions and got strikes done in schools during the 1942 movement.
Okay.
The burning issue in my life has always been the honor of this country. It doesn't matter what you do. I have again, one of my saying is, it's not what you do that's important. It is how well you do is that's important. A person who sweeps the floor, the one who does the best sweeping is better than a person who does bad in whatever else he does.
Absolutely.
Whether he is a professor, or whether he is a doctor, or whether he is an engineer. Right? So, it is, I am sure that with my bringing up, the thing would have, what would have guided me would have been excellence in whatever I do.
Okay. So, most of us, having been born in a free country, we tend to take our freedom for granted. For us, understanding the freedom movement is through books or through our BTs or listening to our parents. You were there, sir. You were in the most impressionable age. You were in college. What were some feelings, from 45 and then 47, we got independence?
Oh, that's, I don't think I should go too much in that, because that's very emotional. Those emotions are very unique. I still remember that night, midnight of the 14th, 15th August. We were in the hospital celebrating it as a student with our professors. And I can still dream of that.
Right. What's your vision then? What's the future vision? What's a vision that we need to invest in ourselves and in our children for the future?
If I want to say it in one word,
Sir.
Be honest to yourself and think of others as you think for yourself. I had been fortunate. I had a wonderful family. I have not mentioned that, but I have a wife who sacrificed everything for my career. She was in the faculty in Lucknow Medical College. I moved to Delhi. She gave up her. And we are fortunate because of that. We have a wonderful son and granddaughters.
So it's been very inspirational, very moving, and I think for all our viewers to actually get a brief glimpse into your journey, your ideals and your values, sir. And I think these are just terms for us today, but you have lived them.
Yes, I have lived them, and lived them to the best of my capabilities.
So we,
with the support of a family, with the support of my teachers and my friends, my colleagues and my students.
so we are blessed and privileged to have had you on the show with us, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation. Thank you for tuning in. Agli baar tak namaskar.